Hey everyone, this is Mr. Everything, and I wanted to do a 2020 kind of gaming, not really gaming room, just like my gaming setup. It's kind of my entertainment setup, just everything I'm working with here. I don't know how good it'll be, how informative it'll be, but I don't know, people seem to enjoy when I do the gaming videos, so this is just my stand. I'll just try, I guess, talk about my setup and things I have, and whether you like it or not, I don't know. I guess that's up to you. But I figured I would at least try it. So, most notably here is the TCL TV. I just got this I've had it for about a month now. I replaced a 4K curved Samsung. It was a 49. This is a 55. It's a little bigger than I would like for as close as I am to it, but you couldn't really go any smaller. You really can't go smaller than 55 inches these days to get a decent set that has any like the higher end features in it. I believe this is the 625. Uses a like Roku operating system. Mainly the main reason I upgraded was just I wanted something that can actually do HDR. The Samsung was a 2016 model, so that was like right when HDR was just kind of becoming consumer oriented, and it was a 6 series. So although it could decode it, it looked horrible. You were much better off just disabling it. Man, this has decent HDR, local dimming, a quantum dot, so it has a wider color gamut. There's some things I don't like about it, but most everything I like. And it does take some getting used to, going from a curve to a non-curve. But I mean, it's a really nice TV. Like the edges and everything are good, and thin bezel. Kind of looks bezel-less. I like when they do that with just even though they use the black trim when the TV's off, it just looks like that's the bezel. So I don't know, I guess that's kind of enough for that. Also, this is on a Westinghouse stand. I bought this at a pawn shop years ago for like $90. Kind of thought it was a lot of money, but now, like, I don't even think you can buy too many rotating, because if I want to move this, I can. And these days, I think most of them are static, and they cost like well over $100 for a cheap one. So I guess it was pretty good to have that. So here's my Xbox One X. Had the Xbox One since about 2014, but recently upgraded to that. Very, very happy with it. And I'll have just a lot of knickknacks here. I have a Apple TV back here. I might have to get a light out here so you can see. Good old landline, which is just like 90% spam calls, but I have to have it for my internet. Some of my knickknacks, as Cleveland Brown would say. That's an Airport Express. That's actually my first experience with an airport. After I got that, I ended up getting an Airport Extreme to put in the kitchen where the modem is. So I used those in conjunction. Probably was okay with my old router, but this has wireless N, and since it's Apple, I don't know, I think Apple stuff's supposed to be able to prioritize like what's using more data, but I think a lot of mesh networks do that anymore. That there is a 4 terabyte external hard drive for the Xbox. It's a Seagate. I've noticed with like reviews, a lot of people say Seagate's not that good. I had my 2 terabyte Seagate for probably at least 4, maybe 5 years. Worked wonderfully, never had any problems. Filled it up, so now I upgraded to a 4 terabyte. Down here, get this light out again. You can see I'm a little dusty. I didn't do all my housekeeping there, but there's the PS4 Pro. I've had that since 2017, so I just went ahead and bought the better PS4 since it was already into the generation. I just figured I'd get the more capable one and just be done with it. I also have a 4 terabyte Seagate back there as well. That's been on here for about 2 years, no problems. GameCube. I don't have a memory card. I only have like 2 games. I picked it up at a pawn shop several years ago because it was $20. It's in really good shape. see if like the controller and everything. So I figured it's just good to have that because they're probably going to be harder to find and more expensive now. Nintendo games cost so much to use. Like I remember Pokemon Coliseum from back in the day, but that game's almost full price to get it used. It's probably scratched, so who knows. I had the black GameCube back in the early 2000s. I wish I would have never saw it. It was just a dumb habit when I was little. If I wanted a new game or a new system, I had to sell my old one to put toward it, which was, in retrospect, what you were always going to GameStop, so where you're getting maybe $40, $50, $60. And now, to get something that was in as good a shape as what I traded in. I also used to have the little Game Boy player. I got rid of that. I really wanted it. I got it, earned it for my birthday or something. And I hooked up a Game Boy game, and it looked so bad on a big screen. I just didn't ever use it. And I think now those are actually worth something. So that's why I have this, even though I don't use it. Just I have it. Same with the Xbox 360. There's not as much reason to have a 360 because of the backward compatibility, but not all 360 games are backward compatible. So I really don't want to get rid of this again because it's in nice shape. I bought it brand new in 2012. And I also did a video review, kind of retrospect on the Xbox 360 for 2020. I used to get a bunch of this free supplements sent to me when I was doing reviews, so on that. So that's why they're just down there. It's the only place I could fit them. Here's a PS3. Also did a 2020 video on that. I would never get rid of the PS3. It's just, since I don't know if anything will ever truly be backwards compatible because of the cell processor, and I just love it. And the fact that it still works, I've never had any issues. Maybe I just have a good one. Maybe I'll turn it on and it'll blow up. I don't know. I actually have a VCR. I used to always have a VCR. It was a crappy Zenith, and a few years ago it broke. So I got this one on eBay. It was a good deal. And I mainly got it because it was free shipping because they cost so much to ship. But I really don't use it. It's nice for the clock, but that's about it. Rarely do I ever put a VHS tape in. If I do, it's ones that I've recorded, like TV or something that you couldn't find online or something. Then I also have a PS2. I love the PS2 Slim. It just takes up so little room, hardly makes any heat, so you can just stack it compared to the much larger Sony VCR. I mean, you could probably put 10 of these in the shell of that. That was the one I also did the solder mod on because I was having trouble with the disc, little, not tray, but the door. It seemed to kind of not want to push those buttons to make the disc spin. So I did a mod on that. It's in decent shape. Not as nice as the one I had, which I should have never got rid of. We used to just trade PS2s and GameCubes like they were currency. I remember like one time I traded a skateboard for one, and I traded a skateboard back to get one of the something else, maybe a GameCube instead of the PlayStation. So I've had many PlayStation 2s and many GameCubes, but these are the ones I'm stuck with now and probably will hold on to because they're going to get hard to find in good shape. So again, this is just all on that Westinghouse TV stand. It works for me. I mean, it's nothing out of this world. And I'm not an LED guy. I don't want the RGB lighting or any of that. I mean, most of this stuff isn't plugged in. That's plugged in for the clock. I keep those unplugged because I don't use them really unless I need to use them. I have the PS2 plugged in because I've been messing with. I had to get an adapter to run component into this TV. So I keep the PS4 and the Xbox One, obviously my routers and Apple TV plugged in. But nonetheless, I just don't want to have even more electricity drawn with LEDs, even though they don't use much, but that's not for me. It's not what I do. So I'm just kind of going more of just a traditional old school entertainment stand. This isn't old school at all. It's a huge 4K TV. That's my big case there that I was able to put all my discs in. You probably saw some game cases in there, some like double stacked behind it. I have some in some drawers. These days I almost just buy digital only. It's just I have too much space, or not enough space, too many cases. I don't want to keep trying to find room, so I get a lot of games digitally. really that's about all there is to show right there for what I always am looking at. And the only reason things are moderately clean back here, just because again I just put this TV in a month ago, so there's not too much dust, and I dusted when I put it in, so normally it looks way worse back here. It's kind of weird. It's nice, but it's weird that they put this glossy back on the TV. I mean, it looks nice, and I can kind of see it from where my bed's at. So I mean, it's not up against the wall, but I guess I kind of admire that they put that attention to detail. This is what I was talking about. This is what I'm working with right now. They go from component to HDMI, because this TV, though it does have that AV in, it's only composite, and why you would even go to the trouble to put that composite breakaway area in and not spend a few more dollars and make it component compatible, I don't know, like how Samsung would do if that TV I replaced this with. But and I also have a hard drive mounted because the Roku feature allows you to record live TV for 90 minutes. One advantage, I had this DAC, like digital audio converter, that would go from digital out to digital out, then to convert it over to analog out. But this TV, so one advantage is it has a headphone jack, which you probably can't see, but so I don't need that anymore, but I just tucked it away there because I don't have space anywhere else, as you can tell. So that's kind of what I'm working with back. I tried to tidy up my cable management some. It's better than how I've ever had it before, but it's not that great. And then here's just, this is actually, I guess it would be like I don't know if you call it a bookcase, because it's not a case, but I made that in wood shop. These were just like the bookends. And I'm not talking Booker T here, sucker, but it just fits good in that spot because I don't have room for a table. So that's where I keep my controllers and my Apple TV remote, and then just some extra remotes. And these headphones, maybe I'll just show all my accessories too. So I bought that Xbox remote at GameStop. I don't use it all that much because when I watch movies or Blu-rays, I usually end up using my controller anyway because I plug my headset into the audio out. So I mean, if you have it on, you might as well just use that instead of the remote. But so that's what I do there next to my little love theme. So if I can think of all my stuff, I'll try and show everything just to kind of show the whole enchilada of everything here. So this is the Elite controller. I've obviously had the original Xbox One controller from 2014 to about 2017, so I got 3 years of use out of it. Worked great, but now I upgraded to this, and it's still holding up well. I think it's weird that I've actually had more problems with the Elite, the expensive, twice as expensive or even more than the original that comes in the box. My first one I bought, the B button didn't click. So I had to take it back. But I've never ever bought a console that the cheap controller that comes with it was defective. This one doesn't click back as much, but I don't think I've ever played a game where you needed to. But again, you get a good click here, good click there, but on the edge, it's not as good. It's just, when you pay more for a product that's supposed to be better, it should be 100% perfect. Now, mine hasn't had the grip issue. That would be what would really annoy me. This one does have a little bit of stick drift in this one. I don't know if it was always present or if it developed. I didn't even notice until Call of Duty Modern Warfare, because they ran their game at launch with 0% dead zone, so that it would always shift just a little bit. And I didn't know how to configure it because the Xbox controller app doesn't really let you change the dead zone, even though you can change profiles or something. But in game, Battlefield will let you, so that's how I figured it out. It was around 10%. Far Cry, I think, even had it, or none of the other games that were first-person shooters did that, and a lot of them allowed you to adjust the dead zone. So I think in the last couple of months, Modern Warfare did add a dead zone slider, so I was able to mitigate that. But again, a Pro controller shouldn't do that. And you can see I added this scuff paddles. I didn't start using these until, again, Modern Warfare, because you can actually do a faster sprint if you double click. And when you're trying to that would kind of get tiring on the thumb. So I was able to just program it to, like, I forgot one of these back buttons, and I could just double click easier. So I never used the factory paddles. They just would fall off, and I bumped them too easily. These are so out of the way, and they look much better. And what sucks is you can't get these for the Elite 2 because it's molded for the 1, so you have to use the original Elite controller, which is fine with me because that's what I have. And then I'm using the Play and Charge kit, and this is way back again from 2014, and it still holds like probably close to a 30-hour, maybe not that much, maybe in the 20s, but that's still really good for a battery that's had many cycles on it. I gotta figure out what I'm doing here. And unfortunately, since Sony doesn't make a first-party Elite controller, I did my best to make the DualShock 4 an Elite controller. My main gripe with it was just that it was a little too small, because I'm just so used. This is the Xbox One controller is just the best controller I've ever had. I recently, because I was showing off the GameCube, I had it out, just trying it out, and I always loved the GameCube controller is deceivingly comfortable, but it is a little small, and I always liked it, but this is now the best controller. So this one needed a little more girth to it. So I put these Control Freak grips on it. They've kind of peeled up a little bit. I had to put some super glue on a couple of spots. It looks like it would just be an absolute mess to get that, because you can see it kind of separates from the actual adhesive layer. That would be just such a mess. You'd have to go with Goo Gone, really, really good. And then the controller would have some of that residue, so you have to really wipe it off and hope that it wouldn't impede the next layer from sticking if you put another one on. So I just keep trying to make this one last. Added Control Freak, I forgot what they're called, just these little thumbstick extensions. Gives me a little more height, a little more control. This reminds me more of my Elite setup. I added these little trigger extensions. They're actually really nice. They're even a little better than the Xbox. This one doesn't have as much of so I actually really like these with these on. They were very cheap. I did all this stuff, $10, maybe 10, maybe 5. This was like 10, but this is garbage. So I mean, it's very affordable. It makes it look better. My options button kind of sticks. I don't know if this will pick up, but that's kind of disappointing. Touchpad was nothing special. And then this Play and Charge pack, this is a external. It doesn't work that great. I guess I could just buy a name brand. I think it helps a little bit, but it usually doesn't come on. Like, you'll turn it on, but then it shuts back off. Now the controller's not on, but even it still wouldn't go into charging a lot of the time. And then I also still have my original PS3 and Xbox 360 controller, but they're the originals. They're nothing special, so there's no stories to tell there. See if the exposure picks that up. PSP, I remember wanting one, so I got the DS for Christmas in 2005, I think, and I hated it. I mean, it was nice, but all my friends had the PSP, and then I was like, man, this thing's lame compared to the PSP. The PSP was like just insane for its time. It was like basically having a PlayStation 2 in your hands. Not near as good, but it was very similar. It gave you the same vibe. So got rid of it long ago. Just picked this one up a couple years ago. Did several videos on it. People were still interested, so why not make it the center of attention again and bring it to the forefront? I think I actually paid for separate, because when you got I don't know if it was called the core kit or something that the certain PSPs came with. You got this and a lanyard and the earbuds that had the little playback controls on them. I think I bought this. It was some new old stock, so just like that. I remember having that in my pocket in school. This has a replacement screen. I just charged it up yesterday, so that's a rarity too, that the battery still works. So I could never get rid of it, because where would I ever find one again that has a working battery? I got a good deal on it because the screen was like all cracked and broken. Not the screen, but the faceplate. So I put a new faceplate on it. I do have one button that's damaged, and again, I made a video. Now, obviously, I'm not going to press the X. Well, I guess I could, because it's just going to open up stuff. But the square doesn't have travel anymore. It's a big process I'd have to get into. But basically, it's like a rubber grommet or membrane, and it loses its strength, and then you have to put a little gum band or something back here, and now it'll make contact, but there's no feedback compared to this though, which still works. And if you do some, well, I can't take it out now since it's on, but you can get these adapters that'll convert to micro SDs to a memory stick. And you can put all the games that you've paid for and you've decided to change them into ISO form to be eco-friendly. So you can recycle all the plastic that the physical games are made of. You can now put them on your PSP. In addition to PS1 games. So if the apocalypse comes, which seems to be imminent, and the power grids go out, at least you can play all of these while hell breaks loose on Earth. And I put these on here just, I don't know if the YouTube video showed it or what, but if it came with the stuff I downloaded, but they're there. So you can see now, obviously that'll probably adjust, but that's still really good, and it's the original battery. I don't know if the battery's in there that good that I can take it out without it disconnect. Not that it really matters, but see, that's the original one. They did sell one, I remember back in the day at Walmart. It's like a gold label or something that's supposed to have increased capacity. But I don't think you could find them anymore, and even if you did, they'd probably be insanely expensive. And who's to say they would even have the health of a new, this battery. And this was the good old UMD drive that had the actual slot and not the cheaper renditions and newer PSPs. I prefer this is the one I started with, and this is the one I'm gonna keep until the day I die, I guess. And for anyone who's stuck around, which I don't know how many have, hopefully if you're into sim racing, you'll probably like this. I can go over my sim racing setup, and unfortunately I kind of did the majority of my sim racing before I even have this whole thing completed. These days, I don't know, there's so much going on in the world, but in my life, I'm not a little punk kid anymore, and I have so many other games, hundreds of games I could pick from, and other multiple things I could do aside from just gaming. I haven't really gotten to race too much on it, but I've kind of finished it. So I guess, well, first and foremost, this is the Place Heat Challenge. I wanted to do a 2020 review. I kind of did a review, probably not that good, many years back, kind of when I was in my YouTube infancy. And I did an unboxing and then how to put it together, how I thought about it. And back then I was probably 60 pounds lighter. So, I mean, this isn't as comfortable as it used to be. I made some adjustments. The back still finds it's way too narrow right there. And I should have did a review, because I think probably because everything going on, probably there's more people sim racing, and it's actually better than going to the track. I mean, unless you have a bunch of money to spend, or you're never, just a gearhead and you've never done computer stuff. Otherwise, I think sim racing is better. You can go to any track in the world in any car practically, as much as you want for free, aside from the price of this, which is probably one track day if you're paying for your own tires and everything. But enough of that. This is the TX racing wheel. This is the one that had a bunch of problems when the Xbox One launched. It's an Xbox One, a PC wheel. I purchased mine on Amazon, third party, used. It was a display model, so I felt pretty safe because it already had worked. And the seller told me if it broke, they'd give me another. And sure enough, that one broke, and he gave me another. I probably put hundreds of hours on this one. But then again, after that, I hardly really used it after 2014, maybe some of 2015. But I've booted up a couple times every year or so, and it still works. Probably not the best feedback now in 2020. This is the TX, or I think it's TX, I don't know, whatever it is, the Leather GT, I think is what I'm thinking. Leather GT wheel add-on. I believe now you can just get this whole thing in a package deal. I think it's just called the Leather GT edition or something. This is the TH8A shifter, and those are the T3PA pedals. I was thinking about going to Fanatic for pedals, but now Thrustmaster just makes a Unfortunately, I'm not up to date on my sim racing. A lot of the sim racing channels I watched have gone the wayside, but Thrustmaster does sell load cell pedals now. So instead of switching and trying to mix and match, which is hard to do on a console unless you have the drive hub to connect everything, I'd probably just stick with the Thrustmasters, but those get the job done. And you can see at the time I was definitely into the carbon fiber because I kind of accented everything with it. And just recently when I was at the junkyard, I found a shift knob out of I think it was an Eclipse, so it doesn't fit real good. I might have to fool around with that, but I think it looks a little nicer than the hollow factory knob. And then this is the shifter mount mod that I did. I've come up with several. This is definitely the best one. It's incredibly solid, kind of matches the scheme of the whole thing. And then I added just my Secret Lab pillow to this because there's not much padding here and this bar is really hard, so that kind of just protects. So I'd probably put quite a bit of money into this, and if I could redo it all over, which I could if I just sold everything, I'd probably do it all over again and just go Fanatic, because I know certain wheelbases are compatible with the PS4 and the Xbox One because I'm not a PC gamer, and I would assume if the next gen consoles will probably carry that. It's just based on wheel compatibility, the rim, so the base is compatible basically with anything as long as the wheel is licensed to run that console. So that could get you into a better Fanatic ecosystem with better load cell pedals that aren't as plasticky. And I don't know, that shifter is fine, but and one last complaint with the Playseat Challenge that I guess it's maybe good that I didn't do a review on it is now Next Level Racing, I just noticed, came out with a very, very similar, almost hammock style convertible racing cockpit like this. I think it would, I really have little space to fit it over in the corner there, but so I don't know if I could get away with that, but I guess that'd be the price you'd have to pay for a bigger setup if you wanted to have a little more space. But I mean, this one looks really good, and it is perfect if you just want everything in one room. You don't want to have a separate room for cockpit, or especially if you don't have a basement where you can just kind of leave it in one corner and then keep your regular gaming stuff in another corner. I could just keep going on, but unfortunately I don't do the same amount of sim racing I used to, but I do have the whole set now, so it is enjoyable when I decide to get back in it, that's for sure. I can kind of admire the tightness of it all. It's the first time I've ever said that, but just because it's kind of, I guess it's kind of reminiscent of being in a tight little F1 car or something, or just a bare bones race car where it's just all about performance, not about comfort. But at the same time, when you're manhood, just like my legs can't go any further, it's definitely, it can be a little uncomfortable. But it is kind of a cool, compared to a wheel stand, it is a nice experience. So I don't know, I don't think there's too much more here I can come up with. I've kind of gone over everything, just rambled, kind of told stories about some of the equipment I have, what things were like when I got it, why I got it, and a lot of it's just nostalgia. But the modern stuff was just really good. That's why I hardly touch a lot of the stuff, just because what we have now, we have so many options, especially with all the free games. Even though games I don't think are as good, they're better looking, they're bigger than ever, but I just don't know if they have the same heart and soul that a lot of these older games did. But we're still so spoiled, I'm just really reminiscing, but it's just a great time to be into games, I think. And it's the way things are, you can really just afford a lot of stuff compared to a setup like this. Probably be thousands and thousands of dollars a few years ago. Now you can get a good TV for around $500 and just build things with backward compatibility. You don't even need all the consoles anymore. And the one thing I'd like to just add, which doesn't really matter, but it's just in no way bragging. I don't think you can really brag about things like this. I mean, if a meteor hits or you lose your job, what good is any of this? But nonetheless, I'm very aware of all of this stuff. Most of this is stuff I never had when I started my YouTube channel. A lot of this is stuff I've acquired because of my YouTube channel, so I am incredibly thankful for that, and I know it could all be taken away at any time. And quite honestly, with the state of the world the way it is, there's a good chance in my lifetime, and really all of our lifetimes, we may not get to live as kings as I would consider it. And I'm definitely not that wealthy of a guy, not really in any way imaginable. But in some ways, I do view myself as a rich man, and I think a lot of us have that blessing, quite frankly. And so I just want to say, I'm very appreciative of what I have, and it's not all about this stuff. I just wanted to share it for the love of gaming, and just hopefully to entertain, and just curiosity what other people's setups are like as years go, even beyond what mine is, or are you just happy with one console? So that's just kind of an amalgamation of all the consoles I've had. I don't have them all now, but the ones I still have and reasons why I have them. I'm just rambling, but hopefully I know people like the gaming videos. Hopefully you found it interesting, and probably won't be doing one like this again anytime soon. I would quite frankly consider most of my collection to be complete. If the consoles do come out, the new consoles come out this year, I'll probably pick them up mostly just to do YouTube videos on. But there's really not, aside from a game here and there, and then the monthly free games you get with your subscriptions. It's pretty much complete. That's why I made the video, because it's not like I'm gonna come back tomorrow and be like, hey guys, I bought a new Ferrari. It's like, no, this is basically all I've ever wanted. I have it. I'm so thankful for it, and I really hope that you enjoyed it as well. And it maybe even inspires you to what can be capable, even as a young person on YouTube. You can definitely, if you try hard, you can end up with a way to make a living doing something you love. So with that being said, for the 10 people that are still watching, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and you'll see me in the next one. Have a good one.